Hello guys, so mixing tutorial number 3. This time we're taking a look at satellites, and boy, there's a bunch of tracks on here. I want to try to keep this brief as always, so let's get right in. Yeah, you've all heard the cover. Let's begin with the usual, the master bus processing. This was very simple. Excuse me, god damn it. Oof, it's colder here than in the other room. Just some mix bus processing, the same as usual. The compressor is not even hitting here, it just hits on the harder parts. But in this song, as you can see, it's very soft. I don't want a lot of gain reduction, so that the music, instead of sounding pumpy, it sounds nice and open, which I believe Satellites deserves this nice and open flavor. For example, Church Burner had a lot more compression so that it felt really tight and closed up. But Satellites is a nice open song, so I went with a little bit less compression. And then some multi-band compression to balance the entire frequency spectrum. You can see it react to the bass here, to the guitars here and in the middle, and to the cymbals up here. This is just a different kind of compression you can try on your mix bus, which is multi-band. You can see if you like it more than just normal compression. Since this one will reduce everything the same way, and this one will, for example, grab the kick and only reduce it a bit, grab the snare here and duck it quite a lot, so you can achieve different results and you should try them both. My limiter, as usual, is Ozone on IRC2, and I'm aiming for, let's see how much gain reduction. Basically anywhere between 4 and 8 decibels of gain reduction on the hardest snare hits. That's how I measure my gain reduction on the bus. Let's go. The drum mix is the same drum mix as last tutorial, so I recommend you go check that so I don't spend a lot of time here. I'll just show you what the instruments actually are. So the kick and cymbals are Invasion. The snare and toms are from Modern and Massive. And the Metal Foundry has my favorite China ever, which is this 19-inch, in case you're wondering. And this Splash, which is the 10-inch Splash. These cymbals are irreplaceable for me. I don't know what okay, the kick was lighting up, but I don't have the kick here. I have the kick in Invasion, as you can see. So yeah, it's the same kit as last time. So you go check the mix on North Lane Bloodline mix tutorial. There you can check the individual parts of the kit that I won't go through here. I'll just go through what I did differently on the drums between that cover and this one. And that was, I just basically grabbed the snare and I put the snare down a bit. I thought in the Bloodline cover the drums were hitting nice and hard, but the snare had a bit too much snap that sounded unrealistic. So I put it down here. And then what I did to compensate was put more compression. So what happens is basically the snare ends up at the same volume, but the rest of the kit is louder so that the snare doesn't sound stupidly pokey. Basically the rest of the kit mix is the same. But we need to go to my MIDI and look at the programming, because it's some pretty different programming than, well, North Lane's Bloodline. That's nice and soft. So you can look at what velocities I'm using. For this very soft part, my kick is 40. And my main snare hit is 50. The ghost notes are either 20s or 10s. As the intensity goes up, I put the kicks at 60 and the snares at 62 for a little different sound. Just some nice contrast there. God damn it, this part was a pain in the ass. The drum solo, you can have a look at my programming here too. So basically here, since he's hitting harder, the main snare hit is an 80 and the kicks are 60s. And as he grows the groove, the main snare hit becomes this 100 and you can immediately tell. Not yet. Here you go. So yeah, all velocities that are pretty conservative for the soft part in the beginning and the drum solo. But then as the guitars come in, I grab my usual 120 snare and 120 kick. Nothing too special here. So yeah, that's the drums. Again, if you want to see the individual mixes for the toms, kick, and snare, and overheads and all cymbals, go check out the last cover. Oh, it's getting dark. Let me just give you some brightness. Lol, I wanted to make the camera brighter, but I fucked up. This is how we roll on Patreon, guys. I'm learning with you. I'm gonna get a webcam soon so that it automatically synchronizes with the computer footage. But for now, this is how we're gonna have to do it. There you go. We're gonna go to bass tone now. Let's grab this cool part. Yeah, okay. So this awesome bass tone. In this bass tone, I use the classic split the bass tone into two frequencies. The low frequency on one track and the higher frequencies on the other track. So one of the tracks sounds like this. And the other sounds like this. So basically every track has this plugin on it, not for the distortion, this is on the guitars, which I'll show you later, but for the noise gate, because it has a really cool noise gate. So this is all turned off. I'm just using the noise gate on this pedal. And then because this noise gate is doing stupid stuff and making it stereo, I use this EQ as a mono effect, as you can see here. So it's just turning it into mono. These are basically useless. All you need to know about is this guy, which you've seen in my last covers. I usually use it on one track to handle both the top and the bottom of the bass. But now, here on this track, I am taking the top and turning it all the way down and just using the bottom. And that's how I get this track to do only bottom. If you don't have this plugin, you can do something which is way more simple. You can just grab whatever EQ you'd like and just do a low pass at, let's say, about 300. Let me turn this plugin off. You see, it has the same effect. You can grab your favorite EQ and just low pass and you'll get this effect. I'm just using this plugin because I am used to it. Nothing really special. And then our bass is adding some low end at 70 Hertz. for that extra fat. As for this high track, what I'm doing is, in this case, that EQ, which was only meant to be making it mono on the first low end track, here I'm using it to do the opposite. So what I'm doing is I'm high passing at 600 hertz so that I only get the high end. If I leave it off, you'll hear the full DI sound. But when I turn it on, you'll only hear the high end. So that's what it does. And then I run that through some distortion. This is Mercurial Audio's Spark, which is a Marshall simulator. You can use any distortion you'd like, but this one I found was pretty cool to get a bass tone that was a little bit more rock and roll instead of metal, because this Marshall amp is really rock and roll. You can distort the high bass track with whatever you want. And then this EQ is just getting rid of unnecessary low end, because this track is only meant to take care of the high end. And then a little notch at 2,500. I suck at numbers. Let's listen to what it does. It basically gets rid of this horrible frequency. And then I blend the two together. That sounds like an awesome bass tone. And why is this called snare? Oh my god, bass. In blending them together, I put an EQ, where I basically took care of the super high end and the super low end, and also boosted 1 dB at 80 Hertz and 1.5 dB at 6,000 Hertz. So basically I get rid of the super lows and boost just the super lows, and get rid of the super highs and just boost the super highs. Which may sound contradicting, but if I turn it off and on, I think you'll like the on sound better, at least I hope. There's also some volume changing. Then our trusty L1 limiter to get rid of the highest peaks. Keep any very loud playing super consistent. And then this EQ again is just taking care of any remaining highs that are useless and any remaining sub lows that are useless too, and also scooping a bit of mid-range. And that's our bass tone. As for the guitars, our main guitar plugin is that boy which you saw beforehand, the Mercurial Audio SS11X. This is a simulation of a very popular guitar pedal preamp, and this is a very inexpensive plugin. I think this is only like $30 or so, but the people at Mercurial were nice enough to let me try them for free. So if you are an artist, reach out to Mercurial Audio, because they have the nicest PR. They were so nice to me in the emails, I swear. And they will probably let you try their stuff. They were really nice. And I'm not gonna like promote them on the main channel, but you guys get to know that they have the nicest PR and also amazing tones. At least I believe so. So how did I go about reaching this tone? Before I hit the pedal, I boost some high end on the guitars, very little, just to make the strings sound a bit brighter. And then I hit the pedal. So basically default settings, I just put a little bit less mid-range, a little bit less bass, and a little bit less gain. And turn on the booster pedal. This is more noticeable in this part. The booster pedal just makes it nice and tight and takes care of unnecessary low end. And then I am pairing these with some IRs that are free. They're called the Zeta Cab Impulses. I'll link those in the Patreon post. I hope I remember to. And these are some nice IRs that are very much mix ready and sound very much like real guitar, because sometimes impulse responses in cabinets sound pretty computerized, which is cool for some kinds of metal, but this song is almost rock and roll, so these really worked out. I'll get the download link in the Patreon post. Then I put them through the same EQ as the bass. The most important thing here is boosting 3 decibels at 8K. That's where I got the nice high end. Also filtering the low end below 95 Hz and the high end over 10K Hz. This EQ is another notch. Let's listen to it. Horrible. Please leave. Then another EQ, which is similar to this one, but this one's doing some different stuff. So I'm removing some of 450 Hz and some of 200 Hz to make the sound a bit thinner and boosting further some more high end. I thought this made it fit better with the bass. Then they're going into some compression. If I turn it on. Again, not too much, because I want the song to be nice and open sounding. Then they're going into a little bit of stereo widening. This is a nice trick to make your guitar sound wider, but you can't overdo it, because I'll show you what happens. It sounds like your guitars are floating in space. Now they're mono. One is your normal 100 left, 100 right. So if you go 1.1, that's the most I would go. Very subtle, but just pushes them that extra bit further. And then this EQ, just taking care again of the super lows, which are unnecessary, the super highs, which are unnecessary too, and taking a dip here at 3.8. So that horrible frequency I just blasted your ears with. I am so sorry. So this is what we got. Let's mute everything that isn't guitar, bass, or drums. Very nice. That's our main drum, bass, and guitar tones. Let's go through the other ones. So this is the lead that shows up in the last chorus. That's very nice. If only the delay would shut up. Again, this is another Mercurial plugin for the distortion. This is their U530, which I liked for its low gain sound. If I turn off the delay. Sounds pretty much like a rock and roll lead tone. I appreciated it for these purposes. Just turn on the low gain mode. Yeah, that's high gain. and it sounds nice and crispy. Then again, getting rid of the extra high end and extra low end. If I turn this off, you'll see how big it can sound. Some filtering makes it fit very nicely in the mix. And the very important delay is this Waves H delay. So I put it on, this is quarter note dotted, so that every 3 8 notes, the delay will put a repetition in your left ear, and in the next 3 8 notes, it'll put a repetition in your right ear. So let's listen to that. You can get very creative with these delays, and that's what I like about Waves H delay. It's very easy to use, and it's, again, you know how hard I go on filters. I've been talking about these all the time here, filtering low end and filtering high end. Well, this is built in Waves H delay, so that the repeats that you get on your ears aren't exactly the same frequencies as the main one in the center. So very cool. After that, just some reverb. Let's turn it on. Nothing special. So that's this lead sound. And then there's this epic, I like to call it like Architect's lead sound. This is basically the same sound, except, well, actually the delay is exactly the same. What you do is you just turn the mix on the reverb way up. If I did like 100%, you can see what I'm going for. Now this is Architect's like. Since I still wanted some guitar in there, I just put 50. In the mix. So yeah, pretty decent lead tone. What else? Oh, let's go about the clean sound in the beginning. I should have begun here, but that's okay. I know you guys watched the video all the way to the end because you're patrons. I don't have to worry about putting the good stuff at the beginning for the YouTube people. I know you guys are special. So this is the clean tone. Again, this guy, almost even more than the distortions, the clean sound on this is amazing, because this is basically the sound that you get once you start the plugin on default mode. This is the DI. And as soon as you start the plugin, you get this. And I was like, this is perfect. So I just put it on both, and there you go. This is the exact tone you get when you start the plugin from scratch, which to me is mind-blowing, because I spent so much time looking at trying to get a good clean tone, and this one just knocked it out of the park. I just put some of that reverb in there, which it also has built in. Very cool. I used this plate dark one, and there you go. Compress it a bit afterwards. Not really necessary. And then you can add your effects. This EQ, again, mostly for the filters. Anything below 120 is gone, and above 9K is gone. Then you add your delay. It's the same boy as last time, but instead we got a quarter note delay. A very cool thing that you can do in H delay too, besides the filters, is giving it some modulation. So if I turn it all the way up, it's going to be pretty funny. Okay, please no. If you put this at like 1 or 2, I think I had it at 2, you get a slight chorusy effect that's really, really pleasant. Yeah, just the slightest thing. Very nice. You can just add your favorite delay and then try some chorusing after that. I like H delay because it's all in the same place. And then some reverb. 3.5 seconds of reverb in a plate mode. Let's see how this sounds. Very nice. No need to do anything else. In these chorus ones, it's the same tone but with some key differences. Basically, those are, the delay is now dotted, as you can see here with the D. So the same thing as that last melody I showed you, it repeats every 3/8 notes. Because that makes the melody sound different. Because you hear, you hear the repeats in a very musical way. So always experiment with your delay timings. The rest is the same, except the reverb is a bit less. And on the EQ, I give it a bit more brightness right here, so that this beautiful clean riff from the chorus sounds a bit brighter than the riff before. Yeah, that's it. The sound from the intro. This is basically H delay on 100% feedback, so that it never stops repeating. I just put this beginning chord, and then I let H delay repeat it infinitely, and if you like let it repeat for a minute, it eventually disintegrates the chord into a sound that sounds like this. Which is super crazy. And then what I did is print it, and then I repeated it a lot of times. That's how I got the effect. I don't know how the guys in Periphery got the effect. That's a good question to ask them. The clean bass is super simple. Ooh. This basically could have been just the DI. So what I'm doing is using the bus glue bass to compress the low end. And that's basically it. This is just some extra limiting to make sure the note is always there. And this EQ is just turning down all unnecessary high end, because this is a very soft bass part, and the super lows too, and boosting mid-range. Because since there's no distortion, there's very little mid-range to work with. Yeah guys, that's basically it. This nice guitar in the break. Is the same clean tone as the rest of the parts. Oh, where am I? It's the same clean tone as the rest of the parts. Some compression. H delay in dotted mode again. And a lot of reverb. Not very hard a sound to get. And yeah, there is some explosions here. You guys know I love explosions. Oh, there's the synths. Okay, I thought I was done. That was funny. Let me show you these nice electronic samples I got. These are unaffected at all, because electronic samples are usually mix ready, but they have H delay. So H delay is doing this funny thing. What you do is you put it on ping pong mode and it goes stereo on you. Like all the other instances I've shown you were on ping pong mode so that you get some bounce and some stereo imaging. So I put it on the clap and hi-hats. You almost never have to EQ these electronic things, at least in my experience. So let's go through these MIDI boys. The piano is Spitfire Labs soft piano, which you've seen me use before. This is free. Go download this right now. It's amazing. Then all I did was take off low end and boost high end. The strings are these Sonivox orchestral companion strings. They weren't too expensive either. I got them for $1 in one of those stupid plugin sales, but they retail for what? Maybe 90. But if you stay up to date and keep checking, I think it's their website, they do this $1 sale kind of often. I've seen it at least 2 or 3 times and bought it on one of those. They sound really good. All I had to do was get rid of the low end. Then there's this electric piano that basically only does one chord. I don't want to explain what this sound is. It only does that chord. Then on the zeros, the epic zeros part, we got this epic choir. It sounds horrible soloed, but I don't care. This is the female oo choir from this Expand 2 synth. And I did some heavy EQing to this, filtering the low end, boosting the high end. What is this? Boosting more high end, a limiter, because this, without the limiter, it's very bouncy and very whoa, whoa, whoa. With the limiter, it's just always the same volume, which it has to be if it wants to cut through the guitars and bass. And again, filtering more low end. Straight out of the box, it sounds like this. And I make it sound like that. By itself, it sounds worse, but in the mix, it sounds nice. Okay. So, camera's getting bright now. There you go. What else? What is this? This is literally called the Epic Pad. You can't get more specific than this. And I just took off the low end. And the nice melody literally called Light Perky Lead. Very explicit too, and well named. And guess what? I took off the low end. You see a pattern here? You don't need to do a lot to some of these synths. Just take off the extra low end, basically. And this synth in the build-up is the pitched djembe, and guess what? I took off the extra low end. If there's anything you take away from this mix tutorial is take off the extra low end on stuff. That's basically often all you need to do. In these synths and maybe other electronic stuff, take off the extra low end. If that's not enough, you're probably working with the wrong sound. Yeah guys, I think I've gone through every single track on this song. That was quite a doozy, but yeah, I hope you've learned something. You guys are giving me good feedback on these. Some people said I'd like them to be even bigger. I don't care if they're not edited, I'm learning a lot, and that really makes my heart warm. So thank you guys, first of all, so much. I guess I'll see you in the next cover. This one was pretty big. Hopefully the next one is a little bit simpler, but yeah. Again, hope you guys are learning. Have a great day.